there's been a lot of changes in college football since 2022. We all can agree on that. But there's also been a lot of changes in the Georgia program since 2022. Back in 2020, we went on a massive spending splurge of just really adding facilities to this place. Then we won back-to-back titles, and it looked like Georgia was on top of college football. Uh, they made a change in 2022, at the end of 2022, when Todd Monken left. This Georgia team made a wrong turn. A lot of people don't think it's a wrong turn. They don't seem to think it was a big deal. But when they hired Mike Bobo, they went back to their past. Uh, they went back to their past where they weren't successful, not in a big way, not in a way that Georgia fans had just gotten used to. And they simply think the party has continued. And it has steadily gotten worse and worse and worse. We've got to the point where this coming season, when you add all the changes that's happened to the mix, and Georgia comes into this 2026 season, and we're going to be scrambling. We do not have anywhere near the best roster in the SEC. We've got some good talent, and I believe if they were to try to actually play football the way they should, this team could still win. They have a lot of heart. They have a lot of desire. They have a lot of desire. They're very physical, and they're still a good football team. It's a good roster. This team could do many magnificent things. But when you take what they did last year, what they brought back, and the changes they did make, they didn't make enough changes. They were at least 10 things that they were looking for them to make some improvements on, and they didn't address any of them. I expected them to go to the portal to get a couple of edge rushers. I expected them to win a lot more of those five-star battles, and I expected them to open the checkbook up. They didn't do any of that. They did raise ticket prices again. They still expect donations to keep coming in, but they're headed in a direction that I don't see how I don't see an upside. Take a look at the offense. The offense, you keep looking at reports. Kirby Smart's trying to build a massive backfield. It's going to have a backfield, something like they had with Chubb and Herschel Walker. Well, maybe that will happen. I mean, we did win a title with a massive backfield and a pretty strong defense back in '80. There's nothing wrong with having a big, solid defensive front. But when you don't have the ability to put pressure on these mobile quarterbacks, enough pressure, you're going to allow points. And so Georgia is they're not the kind of team that you can just assume that the opponent won't hit the scoreboard. And we're not the kind of team that you can assume that we will. Now, Gunnar Stockton has got a lot to do about this because he's the starter until he gets hurt, or if he doesn't get hurt, he'll be the starter. Now, his style of play, it may not last. He may have an injury because he's very aggressive. That's why people like him. And there's nothing wrong with being the kind of player Gunnar Stockton is. He's got a lot of heart. You have to admire that. I'm not knocking Gunnar Stockton, but I am knocking a coaching staff that, first of all, didn't go through a process of looking for the best quarterback they could have had. We all know the story of Mendoza wanted to come here, didn't even answer the phone. We got Piglassi sitting there. I don't know why he's still here. And we've got Montgomery. Maybe one day he'll get to play. Georgia has a history of always picking the wrong quarterback. And that goes down to their culture. Their offensive mind is set back in 1960. They think that's the way football should be played, and they're just determined to do it. Maybe they know more than me, but you keep going downhill and downhill. This is the year where I think Georgia's going to have a real problem actually winning. I think they're going to have a real problem scoring. The defense could be tough. They could get a lot of pressure. They could find a way to do it. But they also could be a defense very much like last year. They had breakdowns, and good quarterbacks could have their way. And we're going to be facing quite a few good quarterbacks this year. Just go look at the schedule. You can see we're going to face a lot of good quarterbacks and a lot of good offenses and some good defenses. I'm just trying to get Georgia fans to brace themselves for what might actually happen. Now let's fast forward. Let's say Georgia does have a kind of an off year. What would that be? 7-5, 8-4? That would be pretty off for Georgia. What if it was worse than that? What if they have a complete calamity like Penn State? We look up and we barely beat the gimme teams, and we've got 9 conference games this year, and say we have a losing record in the conference. Certainly a possibility. Everybody that watched the games last year saw that we barely beat Florida. We really could have lost to Auburn. We certainly probably should have lost to Tennessee. We did lose to Alabama, and for some reason we get lucky against Texas. But will Georgia luck be enough? Will Gunner's drive and toughness be enough? If we're going to have a team that's going to rely on having the best backfield in the country, and we still haven't seen that. Play calling game. The play calling alone has really hurt this running game. When you don't have a downfield threat, everybody gangs up on the line. They don't have to cover deep, and the running game is hard. The running game and the passing game, it's called complementary football. They help each other out, and when you do both freely, you can have a good offense. Mike Bobo doesn't even understand how this works. But again, we're not even going to get into that. Mike Bobo probably does understand how it works. For some reason, he doesn't want to score, and he's very picky about when he scores. And it does seem like that Georgia has an allergy to scoring. I can't explain it. We didn't cover but once last year. 90% of the time, the games go under. And then when Vegas keeps giving you smaller under numbers, will we keep going under? I mean, it's almost like that's what we're trying to do. Hey, hit the under. Maybe win the game. I don't know. But I do think something's wrong here. I don't know how to fix it. So Georgia fans need to really start looking at what they're getting. They need to start demonstrating how upset they are, and they probably ought to stop giving and donating. But this year, go look at Clemson. They went 7-5, and they made a lot of changes. I don't know if they made the right changes, but they did address things. Dabo Swinney's not in the driver's seat at Clemson anymore. I think they just know they messed up. It's over, and they can't get rid of it. That's exactly where we're headed. That's where we are right now. Kirby Smart riding on fumes, riding on his laurels, and has no intention of making this team a champion ever again. Can't win a playoff game. I don't think that's going to be a problem for Georgia next year. I don't think we're going to even be anywhere near the playoffs. Georgia's not going to sniff the playoffs this coming season. Now, I would love to be wrong, but from what I've been watching and looking at the spring reports, we're trying to build a massive running attack, and Brother Stockton's going to add to that, and we're trying to have an offense that looks very much like what Herschel Walker had. And I don't have any confidence that's going to actually win anything. I really don't. But as a Georgia fan, you don't want to see the team suffer and go down, but it's like if you have trouble scoring and you have trouble stopping the other team, I mean, how are you going to win?